Welcome to the May 20th school board meeting. We'll go ahead and get started with the pledge. We have no pledges today. We have no public today, so other than you, sir.
You want to lead us in the pledge, Paul?
Not really.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's just
All right.
on cue, look who walked in.
Any adjustments to the agenda?
My only suggestion would be we flip items 8 and 9 so that Paul can go first.
So moved.
Yep, second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Approval of the minutes from May 6th, public and non-public.
So moved.
Second.
Any
Oh,
dis-
no, I can't second. Never mind.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
One abstention.
All right. Dan, thanks for walking in just in time. Any update?
Ready, go.
We do need to all panic here, so that solves part of the problem. Just wanted you to know, the taxes are due shortly. There'll be a letter, or the company will mention the fact that the next tax bill will be based on how much we've actually made by the end of the year. And that will mean that the December bill presumably is going to be about 1.25 what it is, what the May one is. So the idea is to remind people that their next tax bill in December is going to be bigger. That hopefully will allow us to only be hit terribly hard as opposed to horrendously hard with that. But just FYI, it's going up. We did, I think you talked about the liaison, or the coordinating committee meeting. We have long supported the community power, and so I'll turn it over to Paul. Thank you.
Well, not your meeting to turn it over, though, Dan, but hold still. All right.
Over my discussion.
So we don't have anyone online. Anyone want to speak as a member of the public? All right, moving on. Paul,
Does this work, or do I need to go over there? It works, okay.
you have to kind of be a little closer to
Does
you.
it move?
It
Oh, yeah,
does.
it does, okay, very good. Okay,
We do have your presentation, so if there are particular slides you want, let us know. Otherwise, we'll just let you,
you have very interesting fonts, I have to tell you. That's not the font I was expecting to see.
well,
But my machine does that as well. You can never tell. Deanna, you asked me to just do a quick overview, so I will pretty much leave that alone unless people have specific requests. I'll move through this quickly, and I'll answer any questions that you may have that are within my capability. And I think most of it will be. So the Poverty Plains overview, this is a 5-megawatt project. This is the largest that is legally allowed in the state of New Hampshire for group net metering. It's being built in an existing gravel pit, and subscriptions for this size of project are only open to governmental loads, so municipal and state governmental loads. The way it works is that member shares are proportional to the load that we have, that you would have here as an SAU, and the discount is similarly proportional to the generation. Now, generation is averaged out, and we know pretty well what it will be. It will be fairly constant, though it will change season to season. And I do want to point out that though we'll be talking about a 12.5% discount, it does depend on the generation to a certain extent, and we will get our proportion of that. It'll be on-bill billing, so as we're accustomed to, you'll get your bill from Eversource, and the discount will be indicated on that bill. The structure of this is that the community power, so we're doing this in conjunction with the Community Power Coalition of New Hampshire. I am not Community Power Coalition of New Hampshire. I am Barrington Community Power. There is a difference. The coalition is a large organization. At some point, you may be interested in learning more about them, but we don't really have to go into that tonight. The coalition has bought a 20-year power purchase agreement with a company called Encore Energy. They're the ones that are building the project in Poverty Plains. The way it will work is that Eversource will pay Encore 87.5% of the net metering credits, and we will get the remaining 12.5%, or the members, the subscribers, will get the remaining 12.5%. CPC&H, the coalition, then will pay Encore the difference between their power purchase agreement price and whatever price Encore gets from Eversource for that 87.5%. So the basic idea there is Encore has to get the amount that they were promised in the power purchase agreement, and they will. It will be Eversource for the net metering credit, and then the coalition will make up whatever the remainder is. Now, what CPC&H gets out of that is they get the renewable energy credits, which it can use for their own purposes for the renewable portfolio standard, or they can sell them in-state or out-of-state. It's possible that New Hampshire will discontinue the renewable portfolio standard, in which case they would be selling them out-of-state. I'm sure one of the questions that you're going to have is, what are the risks involved here? And it's an interesting one because there really are no risks other than that the SAU could be dropped from the project if the project is discontinued. The way that it might be discontinued is that group net metering is not the most ideal situation for a project like this. What the coalition would really like to do is something that's called load reduction, in which they would get full credit for the load reduction from their total electric bill that they're buying from the regional grid. So at the moment, regulations don't allow them to do this. They can only do this as a group net metering project. If the regulations change, and it would be advantageous for them to change the arrangement, which would be quite an ordeal once this is set up, then they could conceivably switch over to a load reducer. They would have a requirement to give 30 days notice before they terminate. However, the whole process would be highly visible, and there would probably be a very significant lead time on warning about that. So if that happened, the only result would be that we're no longer getting the discount, and we could shop around and look for another discount agency. And there are others. I will get into that briefly at the end of my presentation. So that pretty much is the only risk involved. The subscribers, which we would be, if you decide that's the way you want to go, there's a penalty-free withdrawal with 12 months notification at any time. If, for example, you decided that you wanted to put a solar array on one of your buildings and your load would be reduced, the same thing would apply to the reduction of load. You would request a reduction of load from the coalition. You would be required to have 12 months notice to do that. Usually something like that will require a bond. You will have sufficient need well in advance of this happening that you would know to make that request more than 12 months in advance. So the project is scheduled to go online next year. I've calculated on the basis of the load estimates which Vicki gave me. The monthly load for the schools is around 115 megawatt hours. The annual load is about 1,400 megawatt hours. your average monthly discount would be about $1,800, and your annual discount would be about $21,500, roughly. Now, I did mention competition. There are other companies that are building similar projects in New Hampshire. They would have to be in Eversource territory for us to participate. We had looked at a few for the town. The name Kearsarge comes to mind, and there was one other whose name escapes me. Both of those required a 20-year commitment, and they were 10% discount. So that was significantly disadvantageous and would have required a bond because of the, legally, they actually don't require a bond, but the town administration feels that anything that encumbers the town for a 20-year period should be approved by the public, and I would agree with that. Doug Langdon, who I know the school district has worked with, spoke to Connor about this, and he indicated that there was, he did recommend that the town participate in this, but he indicated that there was one project he knew of that was giving a 20% discount in Somersworth, which I had never heard of, which would have been quite a discount. To the best that I was able to find, the project in Somersworth is fully subscribed by the city of Somersworth. So, and there's no public information on what the discount would be. Beyond that, I have not heard of anything with a greater discount than the 12.5 that's being offered here. And the indications that I've gotten from the coalition similarly are that every project they know of is around 10%. So that was basically, that summarizes the project. I understand you've had a chance to look over the slide sets. If there's any questions that I can answer, please shoot them at me.
Would this have any kind of an impact? I know that facilities has been working with a company to do the energy audit stuff. Is that correct?
More so, not necessarily, yes, they will look at LED lighting and things
Yep.
like that, but not like utility bills
Okay.
per se.
All right.
It wouldn't have any, they wouldn't then get 10% of our 12.5 savings, yeah.
No. The only proviso here is we're only allowed to participate by state regulation in one of these programs at a time.
I'm going to put you on the spot, Paul, because
I only expect that of you.
it's your recommendation to go ahead and do this.
It is. I don't see any disadvantage.
That's enough for me.
Were you expecting to say no, it's not as bad?
Yes, I would expect that if he didn't believe that in the project, I just have a
And
lot
I
of
would.
respect for Paul. And I'm not sure he would have come in here and sat here if he didn't believe
Well,
in
that's what I
it. but-
figured, yeah.
But he lives here in town too, so it affects him to some small degree in his.
I like the coalition, I like what they do, but they are not perfect. And I'm happy to point out when they're not right, when I know about it.
And we did get information from a couple of the other companies, Kearsarge being one of them that you mentioned. And
Yeah.
they are very different requirements than this one. This one seems to be the safest, shortest term with the greatest benefit from the ones that I've read through.
Yeah, that was my impression.
So this is realizing about a $21,000 a year savings to the taxpayers.
That's what I've estimated, yeah,
Yep.
based on our loads, on your loads.
Anything we can do to save the taxpayers' money is good in my book.
Yeah, I mean, I realize this is just a little chunk of your budget, but 21 grand is 21 grand, yeah.
And that's 21 grand without any cost to us. And the only kind of expectation for us is that if we wanted to end the relationship, we have to give 12 months' notice.
Correct. Now, you may want to run this by legal advisors. The town did that. You may want to refer to the town on what they found out, but that might be an expense as well.
That was gonna be my only recommendation, is that just double checking, but
And I
but
think
only because I
the,
also know that Connor did suggest the same in our meeting.
and the one thing we would want to be cognizant of is not, is being careful when we go to budget, because if the coalition dissolves, they can go ahead and back out inside of 30 days, and we don't want to then not have budgeted utilities appropriately. Not to say we couldn't cover the remaining balance in a year, but just another
Transparent,
layer to think about.
Transparency.
Yeah, that's actually an interesting question, is what would happen if the coalition evaporated? I don't know the answer to that. I don't think it's a likely scenario, but my assumption is that someone would take over the project.
Where is this? Where is
It's
this
in
array?
Warner.
It's in Warner?
Yep.
In the backyard at Christmas Cove,
On your pond.
right next to
Scare the swans away.
Why would somebody want to back out less than 12 months? I'm trying to think of why we would even be faced with that decision.
Has anyone,
That I haven't
If we
thought
bought our own
about.
panels,
I don't know.
I'm not looking for a
Sorry?
reason to say no.
if we
I'm
bought our
trying
own
to find
oh,
panels.
you want to look for reasons to say
You would
no.
usually know about that well in advance.
I was going to say we would, because we would have to put it out on a warrant, and it would be a big process for us, so.
The other thing is that this is done on a per meter basis, so it's unlikely you would put these up on all your buildings at the same time. So it's more likely that you would have 1 meter that you would want to withdraw. And the coalition would then have to look for a subscriber to make up for that loss. And I believe that if they found that within the 12 months, that you would be released.
Right. So is there a time crunch, or can we have legal visit this and we can vote on
Bring it
the
back on the
June
3rd?
2nd meeting? Third, whatever it is.
Yep, absolutely. I
So
was thinking
the
you want
only
me to-
thing I would say, and this is where I haven't asked Jackson, I thought he would be with me tonight. It is possible that they will run out of they will be oversubscribed. I don't know how things are going. I know that the municipality got in on it very quickly. We were the first ones. I don't know where they are right now. We're about a month into the process. I can look into that and send you an email about where they stand right now.
Right.
Have other districts signed on yet?
That's what I don't know.
You don't.
Well, and maybe if you can simultaneously get legal
I'll
to look
scan
at
it
this, and
to
if we need to
Dean
have
tonight,
some
yeah.
kind of quick, short, emergency public meeting to vote on it, we can do that.
And I'd also be interested to know if there's other districts that have been offered this great opportunity that have turned it down. And what,
This is universally offered in Eversource territory in New Hampshire. Whether they know about it is another matter.
yeah, but I guess my point is it's been offered to any school districts that have turned it down.
Yeah,
I don't know how we would find that out.
I don't know either, but I just don't know, like,
Yeah.
I would assume it's just a good deal that if it's available readily, why isn't everyone doing it?
Maybe it's something that legal, you could ask. legal
Madam
to
Chair, is it
confirm anyway.
reasonable to
Or
make a
school.
motion to move forward with signing on if we get the blessing of legal, so we don't have to have another meeting?
You know, if that's a good point of order.
I'd rather wait and.
Okay.
I think basically whether other SAUs had the opportunity to turn it down would depend on how active the energy committees in those
In those
towns
communities,
are.
yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Nice to meet you.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Apparently you come well recommended.
Better than I would have thought.
He doesn't like anybody, so.
Especially us. All right, so, discussion of school board voting, motions and protocols. And so, Rick, I'm gonna ask you, because you made the request to have this on our agenda.
Yeah, I would just be interested in making 2 minor changes to how we hold the meetings. One being that I believe that the chairperson should be able to make a motion. And the other piece of it would be is that I would like to see that in the event of a roll call vote, the chairperson votes last, so that in the event that a roll call vote came up tie, it would be the chairperson that breaks the tie, rather than putting it on the people that sit on either end of the thing. In this case, depending on which way you started the voting, if it was tie, it would either be Jason or I that would be stuck breaking that tie. You'd be surprised how quick I could get them. You can take a bathroom break. But I would just like to see us make them two minor changes. That I think the chairperson gets their hands tied behind their back, taking the job on and not being able to make a motion that they're interested in doing, and that the chair on a roll call vote should vote last.
Well, as the chair, I'm going to speak to this. So in the 15-plus years I've been on the board, the chair has never made a motion or seconded it, and I haven't found it problematic. I think the chair has kind of, part of what compensates for that is, Deanna and I meet to determine what's on the agenda, so I have more influence, or the chair has more influence in that. At this moment, it's me. I'm sort of a, if it's not broke, there's no need to fix it kind of mindset. I mean, I do think Robert's Rules of Order say the chairperson doesn't do it. I know we don't strictly follow that, but I don't want to get to the point where I have to acknowledge, Rick, you can speak, now you can stop, kind of thing. I think the chairperson has always had that ability. It's not in our bylaws or anywhere that says it. I will tell you, as I stay chair, when I'm chair, I won't be making motions or seconding them, because I believe that the chair shouldn't. The board can take the vote and say that the chair can. And then, I guess I need a little more information about the whole tie-breaking thing, because we're all elected by the same body, and so I don't understand why it would have to be the chair that would cast the final vote. So.
I like the chair casting the final vote, because that way if it's like
Right. If it's a contentious vote.
have her have all the egg on her face. That's perfect for the rest of us. I think that's awesome.
Well, I think it puts the
If you want to
people
sit in
that
the
are,
middle, you have to own it.
I think it puts the people that are sitting on either end. I know that on
Go in
the,
alphabetical order.
Fine.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
that won't work real well.
Still
either.
Rick.
I was like, how does that change anything?
Go reverse alphabetical order, and it'd be Jason.
I mean, and on the select board, on a number of the select board's done it differently in a number of different ways over the 25 years of me going to them meetings. And in some cases, they've started the vote on one end of the table and gone to the other. But again, I don't think we see tie votes very often. Most of the time, if, it's either going to be a unanimous vote or maybe a 4-1 vote or something. But I just think it makes sense that if it's going to be a roll call vote and the issue is such that it may or may not pass, then the tie-breaking vote should go to the chair.
So I thought about this a lot when I saw this on the agenda, because it also kind of wraps itself into policy, right? So we've established the role of the board chair through board policy is that we've established, regardless of the name who sits in the seat, their power of authority kind of stops and ends in two places. One, it's that they are the voice and representation of us to the public, to any news outlets, and they get to sign the things that only call for the chair, right? So there's that. And then second, it is that they meet with our superintendent to establish the agenda, and so they really control in that sense, of course not with an iron fist, but they mold how meetings are going to go and be structured. And that's what we've agreed on. So any changes to that vis-a-vis their vote technically being tie-breaking would concern me, because we've always had wonderful chairs, but that's the current environment we're in now. We all are equally elected officials. I don't know who is going to sit in that seat later. I like that there's that balance of power, that the chair's vote doesn't mean any more than any of our votes. Our votes are the same. They hold the same weight and responsibility as everybody else, and I think that's a good thing, truly. But what this makes me think of is that something I've talked about in the past is, if we are not questioning how we govern as a board, we're not doing our jobs. And I think that I've said too many times, Garth and Dan are gonna wanna hit me over the head with this, but I really think it's a great opportunity for us to look at our board, how we manage and how we lead through our policy, which is really what governs what we're allowed to do, is a great opportunity and reminder. We really need to do that because we just don't get to them because we're so bogged down with state regulation and law. Forgetting
Sounds
that.
like a summer project.
But I do think that it's a great question of, these are policies that have not been edited in a very long time, and it's a great opportunity and reminder that we do need to question how we're leading, and I think this is a good opportunity to say we should set time aside to evaluate the board's governing authority through policy as a whole. I do still think that they should, I love you, but I just don't want I don't want anyone's vote to mean more than anybody else's, but I do think it's worth looking at how we govern, I really do.
We had hoped we were going to get to that folder this year, but things have been a little busy in Concord.
Yes.
I mean, I'll say for me personally, I just think with this board, the way it's set up, this is a good time to broach the subject because it's
Yeah.
really not a big deal. And for me, I mean, I've shown that if I don't care if I'm the last one to vote, I'm going to be the one to be in the minority, and it'll be a 4-1 vote, or if it ends up being a 3-2 vote, or in the particular case, if it gets down to me and I'm the one that's going to be the tiebreaker, so be it. But doesn't mean everybody else that sits on a board or is going to sit on a board feels the same way I do. And, you know, what I don't want it to be is get to the person, you know, to be me being that type of person is like, well, you know, it's 2-2, and, you know, if I really vote the way I really think we should, I'm going to have people mad at me, and, you know, and if I don't vote the way I should. So that's why I brought it up, because we haven't had an issue. I don't think it's a big deal for the chair to make a motion, and even if we change the policy to say the chair can make a motion and Moira makes the decision not to do that, I don't have a problem with that either. But I just think that a chairperson not being able to, I'm sorry for not being up at the table, chairperson not being able to make a motion sometimes, you know, may restrict, you know, what their opinion about something or wanting to do something is. So, again, I just thought it was a good time to bring it up because it's not been an issue. So, but I agree with you that perhaps that's something, you know, maybe we make a policy change that is more conducive to what future boards may or may not do. I mean, I'm not going to lose any sleep over the fact that if the chairperson
I
still
get a text
can't
at 3
make
a.m.
Yeah.
I've never been one to say we should just continue doing the things just because that's the way we've always done them. And I appreciate you bringing up, you know, in my mind, now understanding what it is you're looking for and why, just from the optics of it, I've always appreciated the fact that even though the chair does, the vote and the ability to not make a motion or not make a motion, it doesn't make much of a difference, right, in the way that we come to a decision. The way that the chair appears is that they're sort of above the fray a little bit, and the rest of us sort of, as a group, voice the concerns of two sides of an issue, and then we kind of land on a decision. But the board chair can sit back and let that unfold, and then communicate out to the public, well, this is the way we're going to land. If you make the change where they're always making the deciding vote, it almost becomes too personal, and then therefore the board's decision becomes instantaneously linked to that person, whatever that personality might be, and how they're viewed in the community, whether it be Ms. Taylor or any of us or Dave before her. And I'm not sure if that's always a good thing. It's better if, like, whoever makes the deciding vote, it's a different person every time, and they voted 3-2, or as you said, it doesn't often come down to 3-2. It's usually 5-0 or 4-1.
But the way it's set up now, it would always be, if you don't make a change, it'll always be that person, because we don't change seats, and
Can.
with,
Yeah, we don't have a policy.
That's not set in
Yeah,
policy.
that's something that other
Garth
boards
has
do
to
have
sit next to me,
policy.
though. He has to be.
but again.
Oh, I thought you were talking about who's board chair, like there are
Yeah.
other school districts or other, like,
Yeah.
I think the select board rotates every year regardless, right? They have a new chair. Do
Well,
not,
they,
right?
no,
Oh,
they
sorry,
can,
no, I can't
they
address it.
can.
I just
no,
realized I can't address it.
Yeah, no,
Sorry.
the select board can elect the same chair year
But
after
they-
year
but
after
they-
that, but
they're-
they do it same way that we do, but, you
Oh, I
know.
thought
it-
it's rotated.
It
I was
depends
sure
on the
now.
makeup of the board as to whether or not they, like,
You are?
If I may.
yeah.
May.
You gotta go to a microphone there.
You have to go to the microphone.
Well, I didn't sign up for that.
Nobody else can.
The select board doesn't have a strict rule. We kind of agreed as a group that the chair ought to change every year.
Okay.
And so we've kind of gone through people and skipped around a little bit, but there is no specific rule.
Okay.
We've had board chairs who've been chair for several times, and now Tracy's coming back. In fact, everyone on the board, except for Alex, has been a board chair.
Right.
So we might get that repeated again.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
It is I mean, the board officer's policy says the chairperson will not originate or second motion, so it would be a policy change.
Yeah, it's,
Right.
yeah.
So it's allowable, right?
By law.
By law.
by our
But
policy.
so
Our
we just have to
policy
put this
states-
into the committee.
right.
Yeah.
Can't escape policy, y'all.
Yeah. But you're right, Carrie, we've been talking for a long
Yes, for
time
goodness sakes,
that
we really need
the
to
B
look at our-
folder's next, and then the B folder gets pushed to the side, so,
Can I get a motion to table that discussion until after we get policies and determine?
Well, if there's no motion, we wouldn't have to take,
Oh, so I thought I thought you like,
well,
as part of your discussion, when making that motion, those changes happen, so.
like,
So let's take a look at it in policy, that'd be
yeah.
good.
Yeah,
I'm
I
okay
really
with
think that would be a wonderful
Yeah.
summer. Policy committee was, for the members of the public, we're discussing, have discussed extending our committee meeting times to also in the summer. I'm sure much to their chagrin, but
we did it last
but we
summer.
just have so much work, and this is a perfect example, is we don't get to policies that we actually do need to get to because everything else is so high priority. That it's hard to manage what's really high priority when everything's on fire. So I would love for us to see as a policy committee that we review this over the summer, because I do think it would be a great summer work.
Yeah, and I think our spring policy updates are going to be
Hefty?
deep. So we can spend one summer, I think we met July and
We
August
did.
last year. So one can be board and then one can be spring updates, so we're not dragging those into the fall.
That would be great.
Would
And I would,
amazing.
'cause I would love to have just board be its own separate meeting,
Agreed.
if possible.
Yep.
Thank you. Ready for that?
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right,
No,
so
thank you for
we're
bringing it
up
up.
to Portrait of a Learner video.
This is a quick 3-minute feel-good moment that
This is
I
cartoon
am
and, right, yes.
completely thrilled with how this came out. Like, it brought an instant smile to my face, so I just wanted you guys to all have the opportunity to see it. There's only a handful of people have seen it so far. So Dave Cartoonin from Cartoon and Ed did, great last name, right, to then have your
Yeah.
business be that, did a Portrait of a Learner video for the state for through NHSAA. And then he extended to member districts at a ridiculously discounted price to bring it to your own community. And so the structure, the technology, everything was already done. And Christina DeBello went around, so we got parent permission for students. So these are all our student pictures and student voices that have been embedded on top of, replaced, the statewide video. And it really came out amazing. So I just wanted you all to be able to watch it before it was
Exciting.
out in the public eye.
In Barrington School District, we've created a portrait. Not a painting, but a profile. It shows us where we've been,
and where we want to go.
so that each of us makes our best impression.
For more than a year, we've been creating this work.
We call it Portrait of a Learner.
5 key skills each of us should take with us from our time at Barrington Schools.
Our portrait is an opportunity for our entire community, not just our schools, to take a blank canvas and and express hopes and aspirations for students in Barrington's unique medium.
When we began to compose our portrait, we invited our community to take part.
It's a way to show how Barrington defines our schools and how our schools serve Barrington.
Growing engaged citizens, future leaders, and sharpening the skills of every student for careers that will grow our local community and economy.
That's why we invited community members, local business leaders,
And parents to contribute to the portrait's creation. Without the perspective of our entire community,
no portrait can have the definition or harmony that guides the public good for our students' education. When we came together with the community to create the portrait,
We exhibited the work, collaboration, and intent that goes into everything our schools do.
a portrait can guide that work for years to come. What do we want our students to know? How do we want them to solve problems, resolve differences, and collaborate with others?
what skills should they build as they grow into adults?
And what values should they demonstrate in the process? A portrait gives our schools and our community contours, texture, and a unique palette to grow our learners for the benefit of us all. When the last brush strokes go on, the portrait isn't put on display to be admired by a few. It's mass media. Printed, posted, and shared. On the walls, physical and virtual.
A declaration of shared goals.
And a compact of trust between school, student, families, and community.
Of who we want our students to be. This is why we created a portrait of a learner in Barrington School District. We're excited to share it with you.
Take it in and consider how you can help your school and community thrive together.
We'll promote the 5 key skills we want our learners to have in everything we do.
It's just one way we're ensuring we give each of our students roots and wings.
We can't wait to share it with you.
Amazing voice. Needed to be a radio. Yeah. So, just wanted to give you a little recap of where we are with the work. And middle school is actually doing the rubrics on the early release day for the characteristic communication. BES and ECLC have done theirs. So, getting those rubrics together is taking a little longer than we had hoped, but we have our 5 characteristics, and that will be the introduction, and we'll just keep plugging away on reaching that goal of getting all those rubrics completed. And nomination time?
Make a motion.
So we have Molly St. Germain for the position of school counselor over at the elementary school. She has a year and a half experience at William Allen School, which is one of the schools that's closing in Rochester. Also some experience as a paraprofessional, and then was a specialist, a counseling specialist for Easter Seals as well. So has some private and public school experience.
Make a motion to approve Molly St. Germain as the BES school counselor.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Welcome to Barrington, Molly.
She is very excited. I just met with her this morning, actually.
Nice.
And then we have a resignation, which I kind of knew was coming. Lori Benincasa has completed her principal certification, her administrative degree, and has taken a position as an assistant principal. So exciting for her, not so exciting for us.
I make a motion to regretfully accept the resignation.
Second.
Okay, you got it.
Any discussion?
Just thank you for your dedication to the community.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And then last meeting, we had tabled the signature on the general assurances for all of our federal programs and grant funding. So I'm grateful that we did because they actually redacted some of the information due to the lawsuits and the several injunctions that are going on. So I reprinted it, so what's in your packet, I just got it today, the reprint. And so it is the exact same document, except that on page 1, they have put a strike through 6A, as well as the second part of 6B. So 6A for the public is the information that, I'll just read it, including any guidance issued consistent with Executive Order 14151, ending radical and wasteful government DEI programs and preferencing the White House in the communication titled Reminder of Legal Obligations Undertaken in Exchange for Receiving Federal Financial Assistance and Request for Certification under Title VI as a result of the Harvard lawsuit that's going on. So that was that recertification that we were asked to sign earlier. So now the next year's general assurances, they have done a strike through in that section. And then under B, the first sentence remains, then starting with including is what is stricken, including any guidance issued consistent with Executive Order 14168, defending women, gender ideology, extremism, and restoring biological truth to the federal government. So those statements have been stricken from the general assurances document. So probably 3 years ago now, this document became its lengthy 16 pages as opposed to the 2-page document, and it then required it to come to a board meeting and us state the meeting where it was shared in the minutes and record that on here and have the board chair and myself sign it. So I have already initialed and signed. At the bottom of every single page, there's an initial for you.
Yeah, I'm just confused because the document that is in front of me has those statements that you said have been stricken.
So all they did is reissue the document exactly as it's printed, but they put lines through it. They just did a strike through.
Okay.
So I got this today, so what's in your packet, we obviously sent out at the end of last week with
All
the
right,
packet.
so I'm not going to sign this
No,
one.
sign the one I have.
Okay.
Yep,
That was what I was confused about.
Yes,
I was like,
thank you.
because
I had
signed
already-
it. I was like, well, why would I sign it?
no, don't sign that one. I had already initialed and signed the other one, and then I shredded it and reprinted today. They just sent it.
Should the board chair sign this, or just have Rick sign it?
It says chair.
I make a motion that we have Moira sign the document with the changes noted on page 1.
Second that.
Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
More signing.
Signing and hand those down.
Use your ink pen there.
And then in the interest of being efficient this evening, all the SAU reports are in the packet. Thank you.
And thank you to the SAU staff with the very detailed reports. I appreciate it.
Has Joe made any progress on what he wanted to do with the truck, like a bid or anything like that?
Yes, he was going to bring it forward tonight, but given the new two non-publics, I asked him to wait till the 3rd.
Okay.
Yep, so he'll be,
Can't wait.
Sorry, Joe.
yep. And that brings us to policies. We only have a couple for first read, and they are really just making sure they are in line with current legal recommendations through NHSBA. So that is the same for IHBA, Programs for Pupils with Disabilities, JICD, Student Discipline and Due Process, and we really wanted to make sure we pulled that one forward in light of the progress we've been making with the Behavior Task Force and redoing Matrix. We want to make sure that obviously our policy and what we're going to put out in a code of conduct is in line. And then also additional requirements around a not only handbook, but additional protocols required in interscholastic athletics. So we wanted to make sure that policy was up to speed as well. JKAA, use of restraints and seclusion. We always want to make sure that all policies, especially certain ones that directly impact students, are as up to date as possible. And no changes were made to the ones that are listed there for second read.
Do you want to do it, or should I?
I'll make a motion to accept for first read HIBA, HCD, JJIC, JKAA, and for second read IHBG, JJJ, and JIC.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
All right, so we're back up to our second opportunity for public comment. We always start in person. Dan, any further public comment? Okay, folks online? Huh?
World peace.
World peace, all right. It's a lofty goal. All right,
All right, I make a motion to enter non-public citing RSA 91A:3, 2A.
thank you, everybody online. Thank you, Dan. Your timing tonight was
Dan.
impeccable, it's all right.
Thank you for having me.